the Carpenters. Oh, got it. Did everyone have to press that? Anyway, I'm so excited to be here. I'm excited you all are here. I've seen some familiar and well-loved folks in my little squares here. I have some boats in the sunset back here. I'm at the Newport Boat Show right now, which is busy and fancy, but I'm gonna go back and plug my computer in and sit down. I hope you'll still be able to see me because there aren't lights so much in the booths. But I figured out how to do my phone to the hotspot to get on. So I'm learning so much today. All right, so there we go. So unlikely journey into a nautical world. Yes, that sounds. I mean, basically, I didn't grow up sailing. I didn't grow up on the water. I grew up in a small working class town in New Hampshire, not too far from the ocean, but that was not part of my upbringing. And all of a sudden one day I was 19 years old and had dropped out of college and went for a day trip to Camden, Maine. And I saw all those wooden schooners and I just had to go on them. I mean, that was I just was obsessed with them. Like, what? How did I not know these existed? And so I went with my friends down all the docks and they said, oh yeah, I used to work on this boat. Let's go talk to them. Maybe here, maybe here. And they all had their crew for the season. This was in, oh God, this was in 2000. So it was recently. And we went down to this last dock before we were heading home. And they needed a dishwasher for the season because they were loading their first trip of the season for their first 6-day trip on the Merry Day. And they needed a dishwasher. And they said, do you get seasick? And I said, I don't know. They said, can you be here at 5:30 in the morning to receive vegetables down in a cart down the dock? And I said, sure. So I did. I packed my bag and I was a dishwasher on the Merry Day for the whole season. And I learned some words, you know, what's the mainmast? Why don't you say, oh, hi, Thad. Anyway, so I got started washing dishes on a schooner 22 years ago. And I finished my degree and blah, blah, blah. But fast forward to my last season on the Merry Day. Well, what are you doing for after this season's over, the passengers would say, and I had no idea with my liberal arts degree. And then came a bunch of apprentices from the Carpenter's boat shop to help us fill the beds and help raise the sails for our last trip of the season. Because, you know, it's I think it was October, wasn't it, Brian? It was October. Yeah, it's cold out on those boats in October and days are short, so not many people go on that last trip. And so the Carpenter's boat shop apprentices came on and I said, well, what is that? And they told me all about their neat little program up there in Pemaquid, Maine. I said, well, that sounds pretty neat, and all these people are very interesting and kind. And he said, well, why don't you come do a 3-day visit? So I did, and that was 2004. And that experience at the Carpenter's boat shop was absolutely life-altering. In a way, sure, I learned how to use bandsaws and chisels, and I learned how to sharpen things, and I learned from Kenneth and Darren, who were the instructors, how to make the things. When is done, done. Is that good enough? Nope, that's not good enough. Go back and make it a better, tighter fit. Gotta hold water out. Right? And so I did that, but I also got a level of healing that I didn't know I needed from Bobby and Ruth. And sorry. I think Ruth passed only 1 year later. And the level and depth of gratitude that I have for Bobby and Ruth is, I don't have words for. And not just for the boat experiences I had and the woodworking experiences I received and the friendships that I mean, to see, folks on the, oh man, what? This isn't supposed to be a teary talk. But to see you guys 15 years later is such a gift, So anyway, I learned how to build a boat, and I did some sailing and went on with my life, and I moved to the desert for love, and that was right after the boat shop. We all do things. Anyway, I moved back to New England and started working at marinas. And I started just eyes wide open, or I don't know. I just sure, I'll sand and varnish. Sure, I'll carry this thing. Sure, you do whatever, right? I just wanted to be around boats. I preferred the wooden ones, but everyone's drunk now who's walking by, so pardon the ruckus. All right, anyway, so yeah, I started working at boatyards, and I started, varnishing, and I did rigging, and I did carpentry, and I learned all kinds of things in a multitude of boatyards. I just couldn't really stop. I just loved it. I just loved being on boats. I just wanted to get out on the water. And I didn't really get out much on the water because I was working on other people's boats, always on land or on the dock. But in that time period, 10 or 15 years, I got the chance to go on a few big trips. I got to go, I was rigging one, with Jay Maloney Marine Rigging. Great guy, wonderful, so knowledgeable, great human being. And we were pretty much all rigged for this season with all the boats that we had to put in. And I got a call from a boatyard friend and said, hey, I've been working on this boat, and they're going, this was a Friday, they're going on Monday to Portugal, and they need a crew member. And I said, hey, Jay, do you know anything about this boat? And he said, oh yeah, I know that boat. That's a good boat. They know what they're doing. Like, can I get like a month off or so? How long does it take to sail to the Azores and then Portugal? He's like, I don't know. I was like, how about he's like, yeah, sure. So I sailed across the Atlantic with 3 days notice. And then it kind of went from there. I was around boats, and I would pick up trips, and I started doing deliveries to the Caribbean, and it's like, wow, I want to keep doing this. And rewind back to the 2000, my first summer washing dishes. Barry King, at the end of the season, gave me a Lee Nielsen block plane, or on my way to the boat shop, so 2004, whatever, a Lee Nielsen block plane and a folder with documentation for all my sea time. I was washing dishes. Like, yes, it's sea time, but like, I don't know why are you giving me sea time? And he had a little Post-it note, and it said, you never know. And so in 2018, I got all my paperwork together from all the boats and all the sea time, and I took my physical and the paperwork and more paperwork, and my eyes are okay, and I'm not colorblind, and all the exams, and took the exams and all that stuff, and I got my captain's license in 2018. And so I was suddenly a captain and driving people's boats and doing deliveries up and down the coast and here and there. I was finally on the water. Like, wow, this is a dream. This is incredible. I guess it's in my blood. My family's from New England. I mean, Italy before that, but I had a great uncle, I think, who was a lighthouse keeper, and my grandfather was my great grandfather was a captain. It just, like, I didn't know any of this. I didn't know any of that. I just loved it. I just needed to be on the water and around boats. Actually, the first summer I was on the Mary Day, we were anchored in Southwest Harbor, and I told my parents on the payphone, because there were cell phones then, "Hi, we're in Southwest Harbor." "Really? My uncle lives in Southwest Harbor. He's a fisherman. He's a fisherman in Southwest Harbor." Like, what? How did I not know that? So, it's just been, I guess it's in my blood. I don't know. But anyway, the unlikeliest part of my unlikely journey is that I captained for a while, and I thought it was my dream job. And I would spend winters at the boatyard refinishing a wooden boat or varnishing or whatever they needed, right? Sometimes it was amazing and skilled, and sometimes it was not. And I thought I had it worked out. But I was like, I don't want to be on the water on other people's schedules, on other people's time. I want to afford my own boat so I could get on the water on my terms instead of like working on the boats. And so I left boats. I thought I had it like right, captaining in my own business, and I'm like, great. And it wasn't working. So I spent a few years, that now we're up to like COVID time, going to take classes and get ready to go to grad school. I decided I wanted to be a psychiatric nurse practitioner because it fit a bunch of boxes and it made sense, and you can afford to buy a boat if you have a career like that. And I got into the school in Portland, and I took all my prerequisites, and I was ready, and I was supposed to start, last May. But in December, I don't know, the end of last year, beginning of this year, I happened upon this project that a friend of mine in Maine was catching me up on. And she said, "Yeah, I'm helping to do the like behind the scenes videoing and emailing and comments and for a YouTube channel. They're building a 38-foot wooden ketch in Western Mass." I was like, "What? There's no ocean in Western Massachusetts." Like, she's like, "Yeah, it's a farmer. He grew up on the farm. He moved back to his family farm to cut down the trees to build this boat. But he's never built a boat before, and he's never sailed before. But I'm doing the YouTube channel because that's what's funding it." I was like, "That's bonkers. Like, who does that? You can't do that." "Great. Good for you. That's wonderful. Wonderful." And she said, "Yeah, but we're looking to hire somebody, preferably a woman or non-binary person." I use they, them pronouns. I'm non-binary, by the way. But anyway, and I was like, "What? Who prefers that?" And that moment reminded me of what The Apprentices. All right. Of what The Apprentices said to me on the Mary Day. And they said to me, "Yeah, we've started our apprenticeship for the year, but there's a spot they're saving. There's one more apprentice slot open if you're interested. They'd prefer be a woman, but anyone who's interested." It's like, what? They prefer a female apprentice at this boat school for boat? Like, that's unusual that they would even prioritize such a thing. And I thought, that's interesting. But no one rings a bell. I don't know any women or non-binary people who know how to build wooden boats for a year in Western Mass, but I'll keep my eyes out. I'm going to go back to my life and get ready for grad school. And I couldn't stop thinking about it. So December passes and I'm still thinking about it. It's important to note too, I think, that phone call with the producer of Acorn to Arabella was accidentally made. I made an accidental phone call on Instagram and suddenly someone's face was on my phone who was an acquaintance of mine. And I didn't know you could make calls on Instagram, but you can, and their face pops up. And we caught up for 2 hours. She wasn't calling me to ask if I wanted a job to build with Acorn to Arabella. It was an accidental butt dial video thing. Life is funny. Anyway, so I went and visited in January, and now I'm back into boats, building a 38-foot wooden ketch in Western Mass. And I'm at the Newport Boat Show because we've been invited to the YouTube booth where people are making their living either building or sailing sailboats. And we make a video every Friday of the progress we're making. Steve and I are making on the boat. And Anne thankfully answers our emails and, answers comments on the YouTube. I love wooden boats. I am a Luddite. So I am so glad she does all of that part. But it is so funny to me that I am on the internet building a wooden boat. Like, not beyond my wildest imagination. And I'm grateful every day. I'm grateful every day. So we're, I don't know if anyone's familiar with Acorn to Arabella, but yeah, it's an Atkins designed double-ended sailboat. Has a mainmast and a mizzen. We're launching next June in Mystic, Connecticut, the week before the Wooden Boat Show. So we're working with the Mystic Seaport to figure out how to invite, 1,000 people to watch us launch the boat. Life is funny that way. I mean, every day I'm just sort of flabbergasted. I'll be, hammering away or chiseling with my Lee Nielsen block plane that Jen and Barry gave me in 2004. And people come visit, right? We have a visitor's entrance and people come and shocked that someone's there staring at me working on the cockpit or whatever we're working on. We just put planks in and the deck planks look pretty great. Unconventional, but great. Yeah, and people come from all over the country and multiple countries, but they're in the last 2 weeks, I can think Arizona, Texas, Indiana, Florida. New Jersey's no big deal. They always come from the northeast. So they've made this trip to really a tiny town in Granby, Massachusetts, to watch us build this boat. I think because in a similar essence of what the Carpenter's Boat Shop is, and it certainly was for me, it's become a community. We have a 9-year-old neighbor down the road who he comes every Friday and Sunday to work, and he's psyched. He just is like, "Hey Aaron, how you doing?" He says, "Ready to work?" "What do you need?" And he's up for it. He's the coolest. And for his birthday, it was just his birthday last week, we got him a gift certificate. He's 9 years old. We got him a gift certificate to the maple syrup supply shop online because he likes to sugar in the spring. Like, that's who hangs out in Granby. It's pretty amazing. There's a guy popping by every now and then named Russ, and he usually has his waders still on and his aluminum skiff towed behind his truck, and he'll drop off some fish that he just caught for us, and we'll cook it up. I mean, that to me is what the Carpenter's boat shop is. It's, yeah, we're building a wooden boat, but like there's a spirit about the Carpenter's boat shop and Acorn to Arabella that's very similar. I can't quite put my finger on it, but I think it's about community, it's about dreaming, certainly the outdoors, simplicity, the universe, God, like that spirit. It's encompassed in both things, certainly for me, but I think the Carpenter's boat shop was a place where it's about the boats, but it's certainly not about the boats. It's about being loved and accepted, and yeah, there's a practical bit to it. We're New Englanders. I mean, there has to be a practical bit to it. But just the sense of like everyone's welcome here. You just drop anchor here and you can belong here. And that's what the Carpenter's boat shop is. And that's very much what I experience on a daily basis at Acorn to Arabella. Like this guy, Steve Danette, he's a little younger than me, but we'll just say he's my age-ish. And he's just, I'm gonna see if I can build this boat out of trees that I cut down. And if people want to come along for the ride, you're welcome to come. And there aren't very many places that say that and mean it. And I get to go to a job every day that means it. Like, we have volunteers come. Actually, if you want to come next week, we have a whole lot of bungs to put in the deck, right? So we just have like people come and they want to help. They want to be part of this thing, this boat that this guy is building. But he certainly couldn't have done it himself. It takes a village, right? I mean, it's I don't know. It's an unlikely journey, life, when we're open to it and are willing to do things that are a little unconventional and unplanned and unexpected. But I found that it's a whole lot more rewarding to step off the path now and again. Well, I didn't even tell this part of the story. When I came back from visiting Acorn to Arabella in January, I was like, oh no, this isn't good. It was amazing. This is terrible news. Don't you understand? Like, this is incredible. And I can't stop thinking about it, but this ruins everything. My plan, like my Portland and my apartment. You can't find housing in Portland. It's only for a year. And my school starts in May, and I got into the program, and like this is terrible. I can't. This ruins everything. But I couldn't stop thinking about it. So I go back to Portland. That same exact day, I had just arrived. I went to work, and I run into an acquaintance of mine, and we catch up, and she said, I actually am looking to sublet an apartment. And I said, oh, really? Well, that's funny, because I might be needing someone to sublet my apartment. And well, she now sublets my apartment in Portland. And then it doesn't stop there, because then I went back to visit the boat I had committed to start March 1st, and I had to find housing in Western Massachusetts, which turns out is quite difficult, almost as difficult as Portland, Maine. But I found two possibilities. And so the Acorn to Arabella project was celebrating their 200th episode of YouTube, which is unbelievable. And they said, well, why don't you come? We're having a little gathering. Come to this 200th episode celebration and you can kind of get the feel. And I was like, oh, that's perfect. Then I'll look at the two apartments that are possibilities. I'd rather it furnished because I don't want to move everything there and come back to Portland for, moving is terrible. It's not that bad, Ari. It's not that bad. We're moving soon and Ari's not excited. But anyway, so I looked at the first place I looked and it was perfect. I didn't commit though, but it just felt right. It was furnished, it's beautiful. The people who live there are so kind. It's quiet. It's great. And the second place I was going to look at, they said, oh, you're moving here for the Acorn Arabella project? We watched that on YouTube. We're going to that open house, so we'll see you there, which is so cool. And the other cool part of it is I got to meet them. And so I knew immediately that I wanted to live in the first place I looked. And so that's where I live. It just fell into my lap. Like I can't explain it. So this unlikely journey of a nautical nature. Yes, certainly it's about boats and it's about sailing and it's about woodworking. And just to be cheesy about it, like it's also about following your heart and doing some things that don't seem like a very practical or good idea, but turns out they really are a good idea. And so, sometimes I struggle with like, oh, I really should have a bigger 401k and I really should have gone to graduate school and I really, all the voices and the expectations. And like, no, actually, I've never looked forward to going to work before now. I mean, the Carpenter's boat shop I did, but that wasn't really work, right? Like it's like a school, but not a school. I mean, it was just like, it was sort of the launching point of, wow, life can be enjoyable. You can't make a living with wooden boats though. But turns out I guess you can. I had no idea. But I don't think I can talk for 45 minutes. Can we open questions and conversation a little sooner than that? Is that okay?
Heck yeah.
Okay, cool. Let's do that because I got nothing else.
Oh, I bet you do. All right. I'm going to ask the first question, and I want to just encourage our viewers to put some questions in our chat box because I know you all have great questions. But the first question for you, KP, is what was the most exciting thing that you experienced on your trip to Portugal?
Oh, good exciting or bad exciting?
Both.
Good exciting. Well, so, oh my gosh. The absolute most incredible thing I've ever seen in my life. Well, you're all familiar with bioluminescence, right? Like the swishing, you swish seawater. Maybe you're not. I'll just tell you. Forgive me if you know, but so bioluminescence lives in the water. They're little. If you're a scientist, correct me, but they're like, I don't know, some sort of living thing in the water. And if you swish them around in the dark, they glow. I mean, they like spark. They're like lightning bugs underwater. It's bonkers. So that's cool, but that is not the story because we're in the middle of the Atlantic, sailing for days and days. My watch was every 4 a.m. to 8 a.m. and every 4 p.m. to 8 p.m. That's when I would be in the cockpit. It's a 48-foot sailboat. There are 6 of us, so we'd have pairs. So me and my watchmate Chris were sitting there, sailing. That's pretty much all you did. And like it's cool, like the little wake of the sailboat was like, you know, sparkly with bioluminescence. Is pretty neat, little glowing flashes. But all of a sudden, a few dolphins come up next to us. And those dolphins were coated in bioluminescent light. So essentially, we were surrounded by glowing dolphins. I don't know if anyone knew that was a thing, but it is. But you can't take pictures of it, right? Like it doesn't come out on pictures or video. I mean, it's just, it was, I felt like I was on a Lisa Frank folder. I don't know if anyone knows Lisa Frank. It's like this, Hannah does. It's like a glittery teenager school pencils and folders with glitter. And it was like that. It was just like not real, but it was real. It was just, they didn't make a wake, right? It was just the shape of their body with it. There it is. Thank you, Brian. There's a Lisa Frank thing right there in the Sarah T square. That's Lisa Frank right there. Yeah, I saw those in real life. Those exist. Thanks, Brian. Anyway, so yeah, they didn't, it was only the shape of their body that was lit. It was not their wake. It wasn't a wake. It was just, and it was like black water and glowing dolphin bodies. I mean, the most horrifying or most exciting bad thing, we got stuck in a pretty good gale for, I don't know, forever, 24 hours maybe. I can't remember, but the waves were extremely high, 12 feet at least, which is high, like way taller than, I'm right, like imagine a basketball hoop and just seeing a wave bigger than that. It's big. And you can't sleep when you're getting tossed around like that. And the sounds of the boat hitting the water, I was sure the boat would break. I was certain. But there was one time I was sitting on the head, which is up at the bow of the boat, which has the most movement. And I had to hold myself down. And I came literally an inch from knocking my teeth out on the sink countertop. It was terrifying, but we made it.
KP, will you share with us what has been the scariest experience of working on this project that you're currently working on, and the most rewarding? And think about it from an apprentice mindset.
Oh.
Most rewarding and scariest.
From an apprentice mindset. I think the scariest, I guess there are two things that I would say are scary in this Acorn to Arabella build. One is imposter syndrome, right? Like, I'm this non-binary queer kid with no sailing background. I mean, not like I didn't grow up. I didn't grow up around boats. Like nobody like offered this information to me. This isn't like something I was just around all the time. And so it's just familiar because it's around, right? Like, well, Steve, for example, he grew up on this farm. Like, yeah, he's never built a boat and he's never sailed, but like he knows how to fix everything because he grew up on a farm with all the tools, all the equipment, all the just stuff around. And so he can make, like, he literally made a winch out of some garbage metal that he found around, welded it up, and was able to use this winch. Oh, I wish I had a picture of it. He hauled the first trees he hauled out of the woods with this winch because he just had the stuff hanging around. Like, that's so awesome. But that's not what I came from. So I still have this sneaking voice in the back of my head that's like, you can't do this. You don't know anything. You're garbage, blah, blah, blah. Right. So like imposter syndrome. And also money, right? Let's face it, apprentices, there's not money in wooden boat building. That's period. Even if you're a YouTube channel. And so like, what if we'll probably be okay finishing the boat in a year because people give us epoxy for free and we can go back and cut down a tree if we really need to, right? So like there's this instability of income that is real. I don't know what I'm going to do next year. Hoping I'll piecemeal together some stable work because I have some skills now, and now people watch me on YouTube, so sometimes they recognize me and ask for my autograph. I don't know. Don't count on that though. Don't count on that. So like, yeah, that's what I'd say. Instability of income and imposter syndrome.
KP, if you were capable of sharing a life lesson that you've learned on this unconventional nautical journey, what would it be?
Sharing a life lesson. Am I allowed to swear?
It's just us.
Oh, yeah. It's going to sound flippant, but it's also serious. And that message is fuck 'em. There's going to be a peanut gallery, whether it's in my head or out in the comments of YouTube or my parents or, the guy next door who wants to build a faster, better boat than me or like whatever. Like, you know what? Fuck them. If it sings to your heart, do it.
That's a pretty great life lesson. Learned that one a couple times.
Yeah, every day.
Fabulous audience. Do you all have some more questions for KP?
KP, sorry, Cookie. I didn't mean to interrupt.
Hell yeah.
I'll just say, I was just curious. I mean, you've said a couple of times that, you haven't come from a background in sailing. Like, would you say that 99% of the sailing and boat building community have that history, that they have like generational sailing in them?
I would say, yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think there's such a barrier to both boating and woodworking. Because it's expensive. So like there's the price barrier, but there's also just the like, how do I do that? How am I supposed to do, like, what? You built a boat out of the trees? That's what? That's possible? Or like you take this thing that floats and like you go places with it. Like if it's, I think people have either come to it because like, I mean, historically, I learned this from your dad, actually, like historically wooden boat building was like a very protected knowledge base passed on from father to son. And so not only was it not shared with women at all, or anyone else for that matter, but it was like not shared from town to town, from like boat style to boat style. Like it was just like a very protected, and I feel like there's still I feel like that lingers a little bit today. And then, so for the building part, but the sailing part, it's like, I think it's probably very unlikely someone's going to spend a few $1,000s on a beater boat if they've never sailed before. And so like there's this like how do you start unless you went to sailing camp as a kid, or unless your parents had a sailboat, or it's like, sure, I went on one sailboat once with my parents' friend for an hour once when I was a kid, but like it wasn't fun. It was like it made no impact on me. It was like a fiberglass boat, which is great, but like it wasn't a wooden schooner. I'll say that. I didn't even know wooden schooners existed, literally. So yeah.
KP, will you share with us your thoughts on how does the job security of wooden shipbuilding, the actual building, compare with that of the wooden ship sailing? So the building versus the sailing, which one do you think is more secure?
More secure, building or sailing? Building. Boats always need fixing. Always need fixing. And so if you work at an establishment that, and there are some, particularly in Maine and the Northwest, Pacific Northwest, even if there's not a big build from scratch, there are enough wooden boats that need repairs, or we'd like a new galley or restoration or whatnot. Whereas sailing is, I found the hard way, you can pick up good paying gigs, but then what once that trip is over? Although that being said, there are opportunities to sail, charters or ferries, and that's certainly an option. The ferry to Monhegan, someone runs that. There's Casco Bay Lines out of Portland that, they're working year round. As far as sailing, like deliveries, I know people who that's what they do. They do a delivery. They'll, the private boat owner sails you or flies you to wherever to bring their boat to wherever, but like that's really up and down. But the charter gig, so like the schooners out of Camden and Rockland and etc. So like you take passengers out. Most of them are like a few hours sails a few times a day, which gets super repetitive. So it's a great way to get, like, working on charter boats is a great way to get sea time and a great way to get sailing. But as far as like, do I want to run a sailboat and do 4 trips a day for 2 hours each to the same 3 possible locations depending on the wind direction and back for 3 months a year, and then bring my boat south to do it again? Like, no, I do not. People do. There's the Fame and Salem. They take trips. There are lots of folks who are successfully doing that, but that to me is, I like going on long trips, not multiple short trips a day to the same place. And that's what most charters are. Or I also didn't love the lifestyle of, I liked it at first in my 20s, but you can jump all around the world and bring boats here and there and do charters here and there each season and meet all kinds of neat people and go to all kinds of neat places. But like, I am 43. now, and I like my bed. Period.
KP, will you explain to folks what makes a catch and how is it different than a schooner?
Yes. Do we really want to hear this?
Yes.
I feel like we're going there. Okay. Here's where we talk vase-planing. So a schooner has to be wooden. Some people disagree with that, but that's what I was taught. It can have more than 2 masts, but it has to have at least 2 masts. But you're like, well, so does a ketch and so does a yawl. Yes. But a schooner has the larger mast aft. So here's the steering, here's the larger mast, here's the smaller mast. So ketches and yawls are the opposite. The big mast is, I won't get into the name of all the things. I mean, we can, but let's just start basic. So a ketch and a yawl, steering wheel's still here. Big mast is center, little mast is aft, back to the back of the boat, aft, right? We know that too. I don't know. Okay. Anyway, so that's the ketch and yawl. But the difference between the ketch and the yawl, the ketch has the small mast before the steering before the steering wheel, and the yawl has the little mast behind the steering wheel. Yeah? All right. We can go over the names of the masts if you want, but we don't need to do that.
KP, I once named a chicken mizzen, for the record. Yeah.
I love that. Oh, maybe noted. I might do the same thing. I have dreams of having chickens. Oh, that's the thing. You can't have chickens if you're on a boat. Although once a boat shop story. So I lived in the dormitory, the last room on the right in the hallway. I don't know is it still set up the same way? It's been too long. Okay, so I lived in the last room on the right down the hallway, and there's a chicken coop out that door, right? There's a door to the outside there. There was one night I was woken up to blood shrieking sounds and all of the chickens got murdered. Oh my gosh, Brian, do you remember that? You took care of the chickens. You remember that? Oh, it was terrible. Oh, it was terrible. Anyway, just had to go down memory lane there for a minute. Wow.
KP, this has been amazing. It's been fantastic.
I'm honored, truly, to feel like I'm kind of welcomed back into the fold with open arms, and everything's changed at the boat shop, and yet nothing's changed at the boat shop, right? Like, here we are, and what a gift. I'm just really grateful.
I hope you have a fantastic time in Newport. I look forward to meeting you one day in person, face to face.
Same.
And, I'm going to just give folks one last chance for any questions for KP. All right.
I got a question for you, Kaylin. What's your phone number? I want to hang out.
Totally.
How do I get a hold of you?
It's the same as it was.
Okay, I probably have a piece of paper with it on it written down somewhere.
Probably. Can I just do that over the... Do you have a pen? I mean, oh, no, I shouldn't do that. It's going to go on YouTube. No. Alicia,
Is there a way to message on this where it's just you and I messaging?
Can we do that?
Brian, I'll text you.
Thank you.
Great. Hannah has it. Yeah. Okay, great.
So good to see you. Thank you so much for this.
Oh, it's so good to see you. Oh my goodness. Yeah, I should not give my phone number to the YouTube. That's a terrible idea. See, this is how do I get here? I don't know. But thank you all so much. And the boat shop is way more my speed than the Newport Boat Show. But wish me luck. There's gonna be a lot of people here.
So much luck. Can't wait to see you soon. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, KP.
Oh,